I'm proposing is at the end of trauma, in each one of us, one by one, becomes the enlightened possibility for the world. And you are that one. All it takes is your willingness to give up your suffering. If you're willing to give up your suffering, but it's not to give up your suffering to have a better dream, but to give up your suffering to find what's real, to find the truth beyond all the levels. Trauma has become a very hot button topic in our community. Every training has to deal with trauma. But I think that it's missing the essential trauma. First, there's a superficial trauma on the world stage of Ukraine, a democratic nation defending itself against an authoritarian superpower and holding up when everyone thought they would be rolled over in weeks. It's now been years, and they're actually winning the war on the physical ground level. And this is my reminder of my trauma and how useful it was for me, because my trauma around politics was the Vietnam War, which is very similar to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. A superpower imposing its will on a local people. And because of my generational trauma of the Holocaust, which was still alive in my family, I couldn't bear to be a good German, as I called it then, supporting my government and using my tax dollars to do genocide in Vietnam. That was traumatic for me. It was heartbreaking. I would cry just thinking about it. I'd get into a deep emotional pain. And I had to do something. And in having to do something, I was being challenged along the way. Each step, is that all? Is that it? Really? Until I went all the way. And when I went all the way, I woke up. I woke up out of this life. I woke up out of this planet. When the planet disappears, when you're just electric intelligence, alive and free, in the midst of totality, then that service of the trauma of Vietnam served as my gateway to liberation. And if you look at the world, all you have to do is just look at Ukraine, and that's enough. But look at all the countless other places where violence is being imposed, where people are being murdered senselessly. And if you feel the heartbreak of that, that's our planetary trauma that we all feel on some level, consciously or unconsciously. You have to. You have to be aware that the human race is killing itself at such a massive degree. 1 million casualties in Russia, both killed and wounded. Hundreds of thousands in Ukraine. You know, those numbers don't make sense to us. We can't imagine 100,000 people dead, let alone 1 million. We can't imagine what it would be like. But that's the reality that we're living in. And vibrationally, we're living in that. And this trauma, as the society we live in falls apart and the old institutions have been overthrown, it accelerates the panic of survival that is part of the trauma that leads to authoritarianism. Leads to someone who says, okay, I can do it for you. I'll take care of you. Just give it to me. Let me do it. And that's where we are right now. Our country is fragmented, terrified, sick, everyone on medication, and with a dictator in charge. Now that naturally leads to depression and suicide. The number of people committing suicide goes up all the time. And that's because someone who has committed suicide has recognized the fundamental truth that the outside's not going to get better. It's not going to do it for you. And you don't have what it takes to live a happy life in this environment. And that can lead to suicide, but also it leads to the other end of complete permission to act out and do whatever you want because it doesn't matter anyway. And you have the nihilistic view. Neither one of them bring you to a satisfactory conclusion. Another way of dealing with it is to first find out who you are. Discover and realize directly, without doubt, without thought, without belief, without memory, without teaching or teachers. You directly discover and realize the truth of yourself. Then you are free of this imaginary prison. And once you are completely free, and you know who you are, and what you are, where you are, then you can incarnate. Because freedom doesn't separate. It's not, I'm free because. It doesn't make that distinction. Freedom is free, regardless of appearance. So you now incarnate in appearance. But you incarnate in appearance as intelligent love. And then you are the light in the darkness. You are the light that will light other lights, heart to heart, love to love, silence to silence.